Very, very clear, very straight. Look, see.
Okay, thank you, Rav Kurzrock. I want to acknowledge Rav Nussi's Chashuv sister. Ricky's here with us today. We're going to call upon Mr. Ken Carter to address us from the family as well. Mr. Carter, please. But one quick note I wanted to make before Mr. Carter addresses us. We have two very chashuv people with us today, among the chashuv people. One is Rabbi Dr. Frager. Rabbi Frager is advocating not only as an advocate for Klal Yisrael, but as a rabbi also. And next to him is Larry Gordon. I know that we gave Larry Gordon by Chayelo 2019 the Israel Advocacy Award. But the truth be spoken, that award should be given every single day to Mr. Gordon. Mr. Gordon puts his neck out on the line for Klal Yisrael. He speaks his conscience. And I want to publicly state that the Igud Rabbanim is proud of your holy work. Because writing a newspaper, you have to say how you feel. You know, there's a joke. A diplomat met a rabbi. A reporter met a rabbi. The same matter. And they asked him, Rabbi, why was the tongue invented? So the rabbi said the tongue was invented in order to tell you how you feel. To daven, to ask how you feel. My wife, I love you. My kids, I love you. The diplomat said, oy vey, now I see why you're a rabbi. The tongue was invented to cover up and to say the narrative that we want to hear. We live in a day and an age when people are afraid because of the cancel culture, saying it as it is, the Reina Emes. And Mr. Gordon is somebody who says the Reina Emes. So we're going to have Mr. Carter speak. I want to publicly thank Larry. Please come up for a second with Dr. Frager to publicly thank you. Saul? Saul. I want to thank Larry.
Okay.
It's on video. I'm afraid to say it.
It's
the truth. It's the truth. And this guy had the same thing with the truth.
That's all right. I'd rather be true than anything else. All right.
Okay, Mr. Carter, please, it's all yours. Welcome. Saul?
I have something more.
So, my older daughter the other day, she sees me preparing. I'm writing something for the talk today. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's a group of rabbis that get together on a monthly basis. They asked me to speak." She goes, "Shouldn't it be the other way around?" All right. All right. Anyhow, the recent war, if you will, with the Palestinians. Every time the Palestinians start up with the Israelis, I always think, I said, what will be? What will be with the state of Israel? What will be with the Jewish people? Every time this goes on, we've survived thousands of years from brute force, whether it was the Romans or the Greeks or the Spanish Inquisition. The pogroms in Russia, Nazi Germany, of course, and now the Arabs. So it's been thousands of years that we've survived from brute force. But the reality is that it's really the absolute most peaceful thing that can really hurt us. And I think most of us know, or maybe you don't, but that 60% of non-observant Jews intermarry, and that's really the greatest fear, or the greatest hurt to the Jewish people. In fact, in the last 50 years, the world population has basically doubled, and the Jewish population is fairly stagnant. Maybe it's gone up a little bit, but it certainly hasn't doubled. The Orthodox population, of course, has increased quite dramatically, and that's, of course, because the intermarriage rate is very small, and the families are much bigger. Because the other thing is also about non-observant families is that not only is there a lot of intermarriage, but also the ones that don't intermarry either don't get married at all, or have very small families, or sometimes no children at all. So I think Rabbi Josephy, certainly he knew this, and him and his wife Malka, of course, were on a mission to bring Judaism closer to Jews all over the country. In Mexico, and California, and Texas, Pennsylvania, and of course back here in Brooklyn. And they were and he was a leader. He was a leader of so many communities, and really brought people together. So I know we should probably talking about the parsha of this week coming up, but I'm still stuck on the story of the spies, and the men who were charged with surveying the land presumably were great people, and they were leaders, but they failed miserably. They did the exact opposite of what leaders should be. A leader is someone that is optimistic. It's someone that is hopeful, that is confident, that instills confidence in other people. And that was Rabbi Josephy. He instilled confidence in so many people. Someone that is very negative all the time is clearly set up for failure. Imagine the person that wakes up in the morning and says, I got to get up. I got to go to work. I got to take care of my children. If you change just one letter in that sentence, the O to an E, it changes the whole meaning of what you're saying. I get to get up. I get to go to work. I get to take care of my children. Just one letter, the O to the E, is an entirely different way of thinking. It goes from pessimistic to optimistic. It goes from someone that is going to be successful to someone that could fail. So, and Rabbi Josephy, in the handful of years that I knew him, my father-in-law, my past father-in-law, that he was so optimistic, he was so hopeful, and he was so confident that's why I think he attracted so many people to him, over the years. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, my friend Mike, who I know from childhood days. He has a PhD from Yale in psychology. He has conducted tens of thousands of hours of sessions with people with anxiety and all sorts of psychological issues. And it's interesting because he says the exact same thing. He says you have to wake up every single day and say that you're not angry. Say that you're thankful for being here. We know that, but this is someone that's not a religious Jew, that doesn't know Modehani, but he knows, and he tells tens of thousands of people over the year that's the way that you have to wake up every day. That's the way that you have to be optimistic. And that's what Rabbi Josephy, that's what he would do. Like as I mentioned, the spies were exactly the opposite. They instilled fear in people. They instilled doubt. They had no confidence whatsoever. It was the antithesis of being a leader. And again, I remember my father-in-law as a leader, and he built communities up. He brought people closer to Judaism. I remember a story of Ricky telling me that when she was younger, when she was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, she would go out to dinner with her mother and father, and in Brooklyn, and they'd sit right in the middle of the restaurant, and people would constantly come over because everyone knew Rabbi Josephy, right? So I said, was he annoyed by that? You hear about celebrities, sitting in the back room. They got a curtain around them. They don't want anyone to see him. He's sitting there in the middle of the restaurant. I said, was he annoyed by that? She goes, I wasn't annoyed. He said he loved it. He loved to talk to people when they came by. Sometimes tell them to sit down. So. Because he knew that's a way to build community, and she also told me they were constantly inviting guests to the house for Shabbos and for holidays, and in fact she doesn't remember maybe not a single Shabbos where there wasn't people where there weren't guests there. Sometimes perfect strangers that they would invite into the house for a meal. And again, it's just about building community and and building more Judaism, and bringing people closer to Judaism. So when you remember Rabbi Josephy, remember a man who was a leadership who built Judaism communities throughout the country, who was optimistic, who instilled confidence in people, and most importantly, played a huge role in preserving the Jewish people.
I want to say one quick thing on the concept. Rabbi Josephy one time commented, I believe it was a Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, so maybe 20 years ago, quoted Abraham Lincoln. He said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And he says for Rabbanim to be successful, for rabbis to discharge this sacred calling, they have to be unified. And I remember he said that, and that exactly personified what he said. Now, Abraham Lincoln was a God-fearing man. He stole it from the Bible. But the truth is, this is what Rabbi Josephy represented. This is what this organization represented. And thank you for your kind words. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth.